Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cheryl, and today I'm here to bring you a spoiler-free review for Clash of the Demons by Joseph Delaney. Now, this is the 6th installment in his Last Apprentice series, which is also known as the Wardstone Chronicles. I have slowly but surely been reading this series for the better part of, I think, a year or so now. And so I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before, but in case you have not, this is a YA middle grade. I say both because in the very beginning of the series, the first couple books were really had that middle grade-y feel, but as the series has progressed, a lot of the themes have gotten a lot darker. There's more violence and it's grittier. There's still no romance really at all, but there's a lot more grittier themes, which is why I say it leans more towards YA later on. That's a long-winded way to say that this is a YA middle grade fantasy series that follows the life of Tom Ward. He is the 7th son of a 7th son, which means he is more in tune with the world around him. He is more in tune with spirits and ghosts and things like that, which means he is basically the perfect person to become a spook. So the local spook is the man who makes things that go bump in the night, like witches, demons, boggarts, things like that, disappear. They hunt them down. They're enemies of the dark. They work for the light, basically. And so the local spook takes Tom on as his apprentice, and that's where the first book kind of kicks off, and then every book is just an adventure they go on as Tom learns the trade, learns what it means to be a spook, learns what he's going to have to sacrifice and what he has to give up. And there is just something really gripping about these books. And I am just so sad that I never see anyone on BookTube talk about them because they're so interesting. They are such fast reads because, like I said, they are younger YA, more middle grade, so you just fly through them. A big appeal for me is the fact that there is no real established romance. The spook has had, he has talked about romances he's had in the past, and it's hinting that Tom and another character, who will remain nameless for spoilers, that one day they will get together, in the future, but as of right now, they are best friends, and that is, the way it's staying, so there's, no romance to kind of, sully up the action-packed adventure that these characters go on, and oh my god, is it an action-packed adventure. Obviously, because this is the 6th book in the series, I really can't say anything about the plot because I will spoil every single book ahead of it, but this book did not disappoint. I won't say that it's my absolute favorite in the series, and that's just because I have loved basically every single book in this series, and that hardly ever happens. But all of them are just so fast-paced, they're so full of adventure, and I want to know what happens next, especially because with each installment of the series, the stakes get higher and higher and higher for these characters, and more of the world is revealed, and more of these characters' backgrounds, especially the background of, Tom's family, and the spook, and some of the other characters that are introduced. You learn more about their histories, and it's just so fantastic. And that's not even to mention anything about the creepy things they fight. Now this is a series geared towards younger kids, but it has more descriptions of the monsters they fight that make me uncomfortable than I've felt with Stephen King novels. And maybe that's just me, but it's just the descriptive language that Joseph Delaney uses is just, it's so wonderfully and maybe terrifyingly creates the mental image of these monsters that Tom is facing. He describes the way Tom's feeling and how petrified and terrified he is seeing a monster skitter at him at all, on all fours like this, and it is just terrifying. At least the first few books, it doesn't look like this one had literal warnings where it's do not read after page blank and blank in the dark, which meant that is the point in the story where shit got real. So the monsters are crazy that they have to fight. There's a lot of intrigue and just once again, I cannot say enough about this series, enough positive things. This book was not a disappointment whatsoever. I definitely look forward to picking up the next book because, like I said, the stakes get higher and higher, and honestly, I really don't know how they could get higher after this book, but it seems like they're going to, and I look forward to the adventures that Tom is going on next, and these other characters that have become so beloved to me. Also, something else that I talk about basically every time I talk about this series, but I always want to mention it, is the fact that these books are so wonderfully illustrated. Some of them some versions of them have illustrations throughout the chapters. Others have it just at the beginning of the chapter, like on the first page. The one I was reading from the library in particular had it only at the beginning of each chapter. For example, this is chapter 1. Like, look at this illustration. It sets the tone for the chapters really well. It gives you kind of an insight into what the chapter is going to be about, but they're usually vague enough that you're like, what's going on? I'm not 100% sure who does the illustrations, but they do a fabulous job. They're consistent throughout the books. I really hope that it is something that stays until the end of the series, because I believe there are 13 books in this series, and I think there's a few novellas that are like specifically centered around different characters, not just Tom. So I want to pick up every single one. Cannot say enough good things about this series. So that's my spoiler-free review for Clash of Demons by Joseph Delaney. Thank you as always for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media, which is always linked down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!